The wind howled through the dense pines of Pine Hollow, a quiet valley in Montana where I, Lucas Bennett, a 38-year-old former Army Ranger, had hoped to find solitude. After a decade in war zones and a bullet that left my right knee a patchwork of scars, I inherited my uncle's 50-acre Blackthorn homestead, a rugged spread with a cedar cabin overlooking Elk Creek. "This land's your anchor, Lucas," my uncle used to say. "Hold it tight, and it'll hold you." I was settling in, tinkering with an old CB radio in the cabin, when Margaret Elaine Carver, the imperious chair of the nearby Silver Pines Community Board, decided my presence was a threat to her pristine vision. It began with a sharp rap on my door one crisp October morning. Margaret, 50, swept in like a storm, her tailored gray coat and polished boots screaming money. Her auburn hair was pinned tight, her eyes colder than the creek outside. She dropped a leather-bound binder on my uncle's oak table with a thud. "Mr. Bennett," she declared, voice like a blade. "I'm Margaret Carver, chair of Silver Pines. This cabin is an eyesore, violating our community's standards. It's devaluing our properties. You have 72 hours to vacate." I leaned back, studying her. Her indignation felt rehearsed, like she was auditioning for a role. "With respect, ma'am," I said, "this homestead's been here since the 40s, and it's not part of your community. You've got no jurisdiction." Her lips tightened as she flipped open her binder, revealing a petition with 52 signatures and a zoning complaint filed, I noted, the day after I arrived. The timing was too convenient. When I called her on it, her composure slipped, a flush creeping up her neck. "The timing doesn't matter," she snapped. "Comply, or face legal consequences." She paced, her boots clicking ominously. My uncle's words echoed. "This land's your duty, Lucas. Protect it." I held firm. "This is private property. I'm not going anywhere." That's when Margaret's facade shattered. She yanked out her phone, dialed 911, and wailed about a hostile squatter endangering residents. The performance was so polished it gave me chills. 20 minutes later, Deputy Sarah Monroe pulled up. I knew her instantly. 30, ex-Army, served under me in Kandahar. She'd taken shrapnel saving a medic, and I'd carried her to a chopper. Margaret rushed her, waving her binder, demanding my arrest. But Sarah's eyes met mine. "Captain Bennett? That knee's still giving you trouble." Margaret's face froze as Sarah, after a quick inspection, found no legal violations. "This isn't over, Bennett," Margaret hissed as she left. "You'll pay for this." The next day, my mailbox overflowed with threats, a Silver Pines complaint citing structural violations, a county notice of unauthorized agricultural use, a tax reassessment jacking my bill from $900 to $9,200, and an environmental audit for potential creek pollution. The documents, stamped with Margaret's florid signature, screamed coordination. I drove to the county clerk's office, where Norman Tate, a jittery man in his 60s, nearly spilled his coffee when I showed him the reassessment. After fumbling excuses, he confessed. Margaret had dirt on his gambling debts, threatening to expose him unless he fudged records to force landowners out. This wasn't just a power trip, it was a racket. I visited Clara Mendoza, a neighbor whose orchard bordered my land. Over coffee, the 55-year-old widow shared stories of Margaret's reign. Families driven off by sabotaged wells, arson, or sudden lawsuits after refusing to sell to Carver Properties, Inc. She whispered about Margaret's late husband, Edward Carver, who died in a boating accident 18 months ago after opposing her land grabs. She sidelined his conservation plans and rammed through developments, Clara said. Her board was doubting her. Each deal was her proving she's in charge. That night, my phone pinged with an anonymous text. "Back off, or you're next." Attached was a photo of my cabin, shot from the creek's far bank with a telephoto lens. Margaret was watching. Clara, trembling, later showed me clippings of suspicious deaths. Dr. Ellen Park, an ecologist studying creek contamination, fell in a climbing mishap. Old man Henry Walsh, who wouldn't sell his riverfront plot, died of heart failure after dining near Margaret. Inspector Carl Reed crashed on a clear road after flagging permit fraud. "Edward knew too much," Clara said. "I think she killed him." I met Dr. Rachel Kim, Edward's ER physician, at a diner. She confided, "He gasped Margaret toxin-proof before dying. His blood had aconitine, a rare poison. I reported it, but the sheriff squashed it. A contractor, Mike Larson, added that Margaret controlled Edward's herbal supplements from a sketchy supplier. She was distraught at his funeral, he said, but it felt like she was mourning her plans, not him. A distorted voice called me. Stop prying, or you'll end like Edward. A black envelope under my door held Edward's obituary and a note. Some graves stay sealed. The next morning, Sheriff Daniel Holt arrived with deputies, brandishing Margaret's accusations of menacing behavior. His smug mention of my talks with Norman and Clara hinted at surveillance. Records showed Holt's campaign was bankrolled by $50,000 from Margaret's shell companies, and his cousin got fat contracts from Carver Properties. Lawyer Ethan Cole called, revealing an FBI probe into county corruption. Margaret's linked to multiple deaths, he warned. She's cornered and dangerous. Margaret called a community safety meeting to smear me as a volatile ex-soldier. Her polished slides and fake psych reports convinced 90 residents I was unhinged. But I'd rigged my uncle's CB radio to the county emergency network. As Margaret rallied the crowd, it blared, FBI agent Laura Chun. Arrest imminent at Silver Pines for racketeering. Panic erupted. Margaret, pale, dialed 911, screaming about a deranged veteran. The call reached Chief Tom Hawk Ramsey, my old Army CO, whose life I'd saved in Mosul. Bennett, his voice boomed. What's this nonsense? I briefed him, mentioning the FBI. Sit tight, Hawk said. I'm 5 minutes out with feds. Hawk stormed in, 6 feet 5 inches of authority, with FBI agents. Margaret, Holt, and 3 officials were cuffed for murder, fraud, and conspiracy. A search of Margaret's estate uncovered a locked vault with Edward's ring, Park's notebook, Walsh's watch, and more proof of 7 murders over a decade. Her first husband's stroke in 2013 funded her empire. The creek's contamination, a chemical spill from a shuttered mill, was buried to protect her projects. Margaret got life without parole. Holt, 20 years. The cleanup, funded by her seized assets, restored Elk Creek. I turned Blackthorn Homestead into a conservation center, honoring Edward's vision. Clara joined as outreach director, Sarah became sheriff, and whistleblower Anna Park, Edward's aide, now fights corporate corruption. Justice was slow, but when it struck, it was relentless. One call to the right person can unravel even the darkest empires.